Hello. Alright, so for day 2 of Youtober, I thought let's talk about secrets versus announcements. Are you focusing on me? What is happening? I exist. Thank you. With this, I was kind of thinking of how often I worry about announcing my plans, announcing my spells, whether on social media or to others in general. Whether or not it's a good idea, or should I like keep it to myself for a bit? And I like discussing things and talking through stuff, so honestly a lot of times it's a bit of a struggle to keep it to myself in the first place. But I think there is some power in both. With the idea of announcing something, I think that one, there's like element of accountability, right? It kind of gets you to maybe oomph the thing. If someone else is expecting you to do it, you do it more, you know? If someone else is there, you show up, being accountable to others. But also too, I think announcing it does have this level of validation that comes with it, right? And I think it stems from the secrets are things we keep from other people. Secrets are things that are, you know, maybe negative, involve some sort of backlash, you know, they have this weird, almost like ick feeling. But on the other hand, secrets also can be an element of ownership. It is just yours. It is a plan that you can make wholly of your own energy and your own thought process without worrying about other people. And with witchcraft, your own energy and the influences of energies coming into whatever you're doing is very, very important. And so I find this balance very interesting to me within especially witchcraft, because when I think of like social media and like announcing a spell and, you know, putting it up, sometimes it does, I guess, push me, you know, to do something, but very rarely does that kind of follow through. But there is this little bit of a worry of somehow, I guess, posting about it or even discussing it with others will somehow invalidate the magic. It's like the same way of like making a wish on like a birthday cake or whatever else, a little bit of mini magic there. And you can't tell anybody, right? If you make a wish, you don't tell anyone, otherwise it won't come true. And keep it to yourself and just release it to the universe and we'll see what happens. Anyone else heard of this? Yet I fight against this in so many ways too. Mostly because I like I said earlier, I like talking things through. What is that noise? Helicopter, planes? Sometimes. I think sometimes the talking it through, other people witnessing you do it, there is a camaraderie that can happen. There is a level of, wow, look at this thing that I did. The putting of it on display shows a pride in yourself and your, excuse me, thank you, and a pride in what you've accomplished. And there is a certain level of like putting what you did up on a pedestal, putting, even just if you announce something before you do it, the announcement is this understanding that, hey, this is important to me and I will declare it for all the world to know. I will scream it from the rooftops, and therefore that announcement is almost what ends up casts a level of importance to something that maybe wouldn't even be all that important, I guess. I think of things like wedding announcements, birth announcements, the major things in our life. You know, we announce them, we tell other people. There's a level of signifying to the group that this event in my life, this instance, is more significant in a way that it deserves an announcement. And I think that could play very well into the energetic of spell work. But when you look at secrecy, one, witches have been secret for a very long time, because if you weren't secret, you maybe would have gotten hung, burned, murdered somehow. The secrecy just comes from a level of wanting to continue to exist. The power in the secrecy was the power to survive, because no one else knew what you were doing and therefore you were safer. Safety is where the power comes from. There's also the idea of like, the same thing as like someone could stop you from what you're doing. Someone could affect what you're doing. Like I said a bit earlier, the idea of other energies coming in. If someone knows your plans, they could meddle, whether in good or bad, but either or, whatever their intentions are with assisting or maybe stopping you from getting what you want to do. It is someone else's energy mixing in, someone else's intention is coming into the picture, and maybe it's not quite what you had in mind. Because I think regardless of whether or not we want them to or even actively try to avoid it, there are many times when other people, just the thought of someone seeing something that we're doing changes what we do, because subconsciously we're worried of others, right? I think that is true. Like, even if I'm not overly trying, I'm like, no, I'm just gonna take a picture of my altar exactly as it is for Instagram for the moment. I end up moving something around just because I'm like, well, why is that in the frame? You know, you scoot shit. Or I had a filter, you know, because it just kind of makes it all pretty and the aesthetic makes me happy. The blacks aren't as black as they are when I'm looking at them sometimes. And that's just with like taking a photo and having other people looking at stuff, let alone the spell work. I think even if I can't think of like a particular instance where I might have crafted something for that very reason, undoubtedly it's influenced me in some way, right? Undoubtedly the idea of a spell has changed just slightly if I think other people will find out about it or know about it. And therefore I think the purity that comes from it just being all you and what you want to do without others' influences from the secret can have quite a bit of oomph because of the lack of worry of others' opinions. And I think there is something about the idea of being the underdog, of slipping under people's notice and coming out the other side looking or feeling fantastic, like our lives have leveled up seemingly overnight. Little did they know that you've been slowly but surely working on this bit by bit by bit behind the scenes, and then boom. That element of shock or spite is very intriguing. And I really lean on that. Like when I think of why I want something to remain a secret, it is a sense of, because it's not necessarily that I don't want to announce a thing, is that I want the announcement to be a positive shock, a positive surprise. Also, I think there is an element of when something is new, when you put yourself into it, similarly how I felt with witchcraft, or when I get into a new relationship, or you know, it's the newness makes you question it a bit. A new spell is something to naturally just be overthought a little bit. If it's private, you just don't overthink it as much. Is that just me? If it's something a little more public, no matter what, I'm going to think about it more because I'm worried about the opinions. I'm worried about the, like, if I'm signaling importance through an announcement, well, then what does that do? Right? I'm naturally going to think about it a bit more. What are other things people could say that I should then take into consideration and maybe consider before I announce? You know, think something all the way through. Not necessarily a bad thing. Within that is definitely a level of not being settled, not being 100%, not having worked through maybe exactly what you want to do. Sometimes then, if something is entirely secret, we don't think about it all the way through. It is interesting to me how when I do talk about my spells, like I said, I like to talk things through. People naturally will say something that I didn't think of, because that's what people do. We have different thoughts, different processes. I will mention something on this channel and someone will comment something that's like, hey, have you tried this? Have you thought of this? What if your deity might be saying this? And I'm like, point I didn't consider. Thank you. It's valuable information. More information from more viewpoints can be a very good thing. And who knows for how long, if you didn't have that outside opinion, would you have maybe continued on a track within your secrecy to something that actually isn't as effective to the thing that someone else might have suggested. What's interesting though is within 2020, I think part of the isolation thing that's come about is that I've naturally leaned a little bit more towards the secrecy. Even with people I normally trust a bit more with my magic, I don't talk about it nearly as much. It is a much more personal thing. I'm really coming into myself this year. And I think that natural inclination to not ask everyone else's opinion and to not even let anyone know when things are happening, has definitely served me. I'm finding that power in flying under the radar, in not showing all of the things that I'm doing, in feeling that something is entirely my energy without influence of others, and allowing that to also bring myself a real peace of mind. But I know eventually, one day, as it does many a time, I will want to announce things more. And even use an announcement as kind of a way to complete a spell. But anyway, that's just kind of me muddling through my thoughts when I think of secrecy versus announcing, especially in regards to do with magic. So let me know down below, are you a person who is a little more prone to the secrecy? Do you hold all of your cards very close to your chest when it comes to your magic? Or are you way more the opposite? Are you someone who feels that until it has been announced, until it has a sense of permanence outside of, you know, behind the closed doors sense, that is when something actually holds importance? Or are you a little bit like me now, where it's maybe fluctuates one way one minute, then the other, then the other? Oh my goodness, planes. I think it's that damn helicopter. Gun? Okay. Anyway, please comment all that down below where you land on it. And since this is part of Youtober, I will see you guys tomorrow.